Welcome back to I Need a Coach, where we interview top coaches, experts, authors, and speakers, hear their stories of success, how they build their business, and hopefully educate and inspire you. My name's Adam Packard. For the last 7 years, we've worked with over 500 coaches, consultants, speakers, and authors, helping them grow their business development, marketing ideas using LinkedIn. Today's guest is Simon Bergenroth, and Simon's got an interesting story that he'll share on how he's been able to overcome mental health challenges in order to grow a successful coaching practice. So if you've ever dealt with any mental health challenges, needing those days where you just don't feel like yourself and you can't give yourself to your clients, Simon's going to give you some ideas on how you can not only overcome those challenging times, but succeed in the long run. So hope you enjoy this podcast. All right, welcome back to I Need a Coach. I am joined today by Simon Bergenroth. Simon, welcome to the show.
Hi, Adam. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, thanks for having you back. We had you on before, and we had some technical challenges. I guess the internet connection's not quite as stable over there on the south coast of UK. And you're frozen right now. Can you hear me okay? There we go. Well, let's try and see if we can get through this again. So hopefully you don't freeze up and we can hear you fine. So
this is uploading. So 80% uploading, 84. No idea.
Well, give the audience a little bit of insight into who you are, who you help, and then we'll kind of dive into your background and how you got into what you're doing today.
Great. Well, my name's Simon Bergenroth. I'm the founder and the managing director of an organization called Three Hats. So those three hats really represent executive coaching, executive mentoring, and executive advising. What I do for the world in my sort of small corner of the world in South Queensferry, just outside of Edinburgh in the UK, is I work with people that are looking to win board seats. So specifically non-exec directors as well as executive directors. And I have over 1,500 hours of experience working with people on doing that kind of executive career transition piece. So that's really me. I mean, my kind of background is marketing. I did 20 plus years in the marketing trade, both agencies and client-side roles. But yeah, it was actually a health condition that made me kind of realize I had to change things up and actually move into something that was maybe slightly less stressful. So maybe we can come back to that a bit later on. But yeah, when I decided to change my career, I did a lot of soul searching and was looking around going, what is it that my superpower, which is a question I ask my clients a lot. And, I just love people, and I know you're a people person as well, Adam. You get on with a great range of your clients, but yeah, I just love seeing people succeed and do well, and to, basically wake up and help boards by finding really, really strong candidates to join their board, which ultimately makes the biggest impact on an organization. That's really what kind of gets me out of bed every morning.
No, that's awesome, man. I know in our first conversation, you have these, I have conversations with coaches all day long. You have conversations all day long. And you kind of know when you meet someone, you're like, I like this guy. Whether or not he becomes a client or not, I think we'd still be friends, even if you didn't come on board as a client. But from that very first conversation, we found some things we had in common. We both have 8-year-old sons. Of course, we live on different sides of the earth, but I think we both have that passion for helping people. So take us back to that transition. So you were in the corporate world, had some health challenges and some conditions that kind of forced your hand into thinking, okay, this might not be where I need to be in order to, for my best mental health. Whatever you want to share there, you don't have to go into too much detail, but what did that transition time look for?
Yeah, I mean, it's fine. It's one of those things that a lot of people, because of stigma and mental health, don't talk about. But it's, I live with something called bipolar. Which is really a kind of a chronic mental health challenge that sees you having fluctuations in energy and mood. So you're either sort of coasting along normal, the average person, whatever that looks like, and have, slight ups and downs in life. Someone with bipolar has much more extreme kind of changes. So it's a little bit like being on a roller coaster. From one day to the next, you don't know quite whether you're going to be feeling really low and depressed or whether you're going to be feeling quite emboldened and high and elevated and things like that. And it's one of the things I've learned to deal with. I have a successful coaching business, so sort of mental health and even sort of diagnosis of mental health for things like anxiety and depression really isn't, my message isn't the end of the road. But I had to look at what I was doing in the marketing industry, which is generally high pressure, high stress. And it wasn't really going to compute with my life going sort of forward. So I took a little bit of a sort of step back in my career, spent some time working with a mentor of mine that I've had for over 10 years. And yeah, so she essentially suggested that I look at kind of executive coaching and leadership coaching, because, I'd always been involved with people. I'd been a senior strategic leader. I'd had sort of direct reports and things like that. So that was the decision. And then obviously I did the training course, the Institute of Leadership and Management level 7, which is the top end that you can get on there. And I've got a couple of other accreditations that I've also got with the ICF, which is the main one that most people know about, the International Coaching Federation, and then the EMCC, the European Mentoring Coaching Council. So I've kind of, I feel like I've earned my stripes, and I've got a good level of experience underneath me. I've not let it held me back, but it is something that changes all the time. And the benefit of being a business owner is that, if you need to sort of shift things around in your schedule, due to the way that you feel, you can do that. And my clients are fantastic in that regard. Again, it's not something that I hide. Some people would. They would say, "Oh, you can't talk about mental health so broadly because it puts people off." And I think it's changing. I think the stigma is lifting. More people are aware of it, and more people are aware of it in themselves. I think it's 1 in 4 people have a mental health challenge in the UK, for example. So that's a fair chunk of the population.
Yeah. That's interesting. No, so when you started this, so how long have you been doing the coaching? And then what did your offer look like when you started, and kind of how did it kind of turn into this? You help people win board seats, or did you start with that?
It was, so there's a couple of questions there. So how did it start in terms of the coaching? So the coaching training started in 2019. And then I qualified in 2020, and then it was pretty much the beginning of 2021 where I started my own company, and that was just Simon Bergenroth Executive Coaching. That was straight off the bat. That was, and it actually wasn't. It was really difficult, I found, to do your own marketing. I'd done marketing for numerous other global corporations and individuals before, so I'd got lots of knowledge. But to do it yourself, from self-reflect and kind of go, okay, what's my niche going to be? What's my segment going to be? I really didn't do that. And actually, it was really a case of open the gates and see what I could pull in, And I was doing a mixture of kind of redundancy coaching, a mix of facilitation, a mix of kind of performance, leadership, a whole mix of stuff, including the kind of board work that I did. And then I got a bit of a lucky break. I got hired by a company who specifically target and work with the people that I now work with. So there's people looking to move into boards, and I got my first kind of 500 hours, which is a bit of a magic number for coaching. If you can get to 500 plus, that's a good kind of foundation stone, I suppose, to build any kind of practice on. So I did that very quickly in that organization. I was with them for about 14 months, and month 13, they actually gave me a pay rise, and I was earning as much as I'd ever earned in my marketing career. Things were going great. And then they had a bit of a change of restructure in the organization, and then they had some redundancies, which I kind of was kind of selected out of a number of people to go through redundancy. And the short story is obviously that happened, and it happened very, very quickly, even though I'd been given a pay rise, the month before, which I found very strange. So I was out again thinking, right, what am I going to do? Am I going to go solo? Am I going to try and get an employed role again? Maybe a bit of security and things like that. And actually, when I looked around the kind of coaching community that I'd kind of, built some contacts with, a lot of people and a lot of the industry is kind of self-employed. And people they tend to do more associate work, which is like as a subcontractor, as well as their own direct work. And obviously direct work is really hard to kind of build the business. And that's why we have a relationship, because it's certainly, as a business owner, for me, my number one priority is prospecting and lead generation and things like that, which is so hard to do. So early days was a real challenge. So I was looking in my network, building connections, looking for referrals off people that I coached before. And I 3 Hats was obviously kind of kind of growing as a proposition. I'd always kind of had this view that, the coaching was wedded with the kind of mentoring and advising, because you can't coach knowledge, which is something that's quite controversial in certain circles in coaching, where people say you can't provide any guidance, or you can't, give any kind of hints and clues about a way forward. That should all come from the client. And I just don't believe that. And actually, the sweet spot for me is using a combination of those hats to move someone on successfully. So as my business has gone on, I'm over 18 months old. I'm in profit. I was within profit within my first year. And it was graft. It was really, really hard work. And as I said, lead generation, probably one of the hardest parts of it. Getting new leads, new people into your universe that know about you and potentially might spend, obviously, a few £1,000s or so working with you. And it was really difficult. But as I had the majority of my experience with those kind of VPs, directors, heads of specifically, and I had a really, really good hit rate in terms of those people being successful. I suddenly, kind of actually around the end of last year, I kind of thought to myself, come on, Simon, you need to really niche here. You need to focus. It's been a interesting 18 months seeing what the market, will bear in terms of facilitation roles and, different associate roles and different sort of performance coaching and things like that. But this is where I've got a tried and tested kind of methodology and program. And the fact that Three Hats is a bespoke program as well, I think is something that our clients really, really love. So I set out the stall, and since working with you, as you well know, we focus very much about how to win a board seat for 2024. And it's a message that's really resonating. I'm getting lots of interest and a lot of people that want to find out more. So that's been great.
Well, I mean, you're unlike a lot of the coaches I have conversations with, in that you really put the importance on the marketing out of the gate. I think a lot of coaches, when they start, they rely on the warm market, and then they rely on referrals, and they're posting content and hoping people see it and message them. But I think putting that, coming from the marketing world, understanding that, hey, I might not be able to be the best person to market myself. I can market other people. Yeah. But when you're looking at your own stuff, it's like, sometimes it's better to have someone else's set of eyes looking at it and saying, well, either focus a little bit more here, or this is the direction we could go here, or this is the approach that you could take here. So I think that's unique in the fact that you realize that the lifeblood of your business is going to be marketing and lead generation. So what did you try before you and I met? Because you and I only met a couple months ago. So what did you try before in terms of doing lead generation and marketing? And then obviously in the coaching world, it's a super competitive space. So how did you kind of combine what your lead gen efforts look like with how did you realize that you needed to differentiate, and how do you continue to do that?
Yeah, it was really a combination of, because of certain clauses in my previous contract, made it obviously a barrier to obviously go back to people that I've worked with before. So, I mean, there was people that I worked with on a pro bono basis when I was kind of training and then before, so I could obviously go back to them. I tried LinkedIn message, one message by one message. I tried, there's a piece of software called Linked Helper, which kind of automates linked lead generation in terms of sending out messages. Tried that, got a little bit of success, but not really. Didn't really work. And then fortunately, someone in my kind of my corner, I suppose, in terms of another coach, warned me about kind of automated systems, because obviously if LinkedIn pick up about automated systems, then obviously you get chucked off the site, which is, LinkedIn for me is my main ground. So I did a lot of kind of organic social media on LinkedIn specifically. I did some kind of, I've got a Facebook page, but there's not really a huge amount of engagement there. I did X, obviously formerly Twitter. So I always find it strange that you have to say that as well now. And again, I had a small database of people that I kind of knew out with, obviously my previous company. So it was really kind of small and humble beginnings. And then I did quite a big outreach to associate companies. Again, those are kind of subcontracts that I'm kind of doing with them. So yeah, I'm just trying to think if there was anything else. Obviously, I got myself a website. which again, I didn't follow the rules that I had learned from someone with regards to actually shouldn't do a website if you're a coach for a good year or two until you actually figure out what your niche is and what your focus is. You shouldn't build a website, but of course I did, and I wanted to get something up there. And it's not. It's a good website. It's brought me some business already, and it's not too far away from what I'm doing. I've just niched even more focused. So again, there's a bit of work that I can do there. But it was really just trying to get that word of mouth and just sort of scrape around for as much as possible, because I didn't have money for paid search or any kind of paid advertising or anything like that. So it's really just a case of just trying to put the word out there based on my LinkedIn database, which was fairly large. Sort of already, so I had a number of good contacts on there as well. But yeah, it's extraordinarily hard to get people to respond off social media.
Yeah, I think we have a lot of similarities in that. When I started doing the work that we're doing now, it's a matter of failing forward, right? When I first started doing this, it was anybody that had a LinkedIn account and a credit card was kind of my audience, right? It was let me figure it out. You tell me what you're looking to do and I'll see if we can figure it out. And I was selling people into a 12-month, I don't even know what I was thinking, a 12-month agreement. And I was using an automation tool. And I think I was charging like $1,500 for the year. I mean, something ridiculously low. Of course, over time, we moved away from the automation because, like you said, that can get you put in LinkedIn jail, and that's never a fun place to be if you've ever been there, having to validate your identity and prove it's you.
Doesn't sound like a fun process at all.
No, it's not. I've gone through it once, and I learned my lesson, and now we do things a little bit different and a lot safer and above board when it comes to the rules of LinkedIn. But yeah, I think and talking about website, I didn't have a website for the first 3 or 4 years that I was doing this. I just used my LinkedIn page, and I think that's, a good lesson for a lot of coaches out there is, your offer is going to change. Your audience is going to change. Your marketing and approach is going to change. And you have to be okay with that. I mean, plant your flag in the sand and say, okay, this is where I'm starting. But I've always been of the adage of it's okay to make changes and adjustments if you see changes in the market and what's working and what's not. And I think you've done a good job of that. So what's the plan for this year? So obviously you're helping people win board seats. What's the success rate? Like for every, how long does it take someone to get a board seat? And I guess what are the advantages if someone is, now in that role and has that influence? How long does it take someone to win a board seat, and what are the advantages for being on a board?
Yeah, it can take anywhere between 6 and 12 months to get your first board seat. There is a tactic that kind of newbie kind of trustees and NEDs use, which is going for not-for-profits and charities, because they're always looking for good people. They tend to be pro bono, which isn't for everyone, but it's a good way to get in there, get your foot in the door, and actually see whether it's something that you would enjoy doing. Because before you start building a portfolio, you've got to make sure that it's something that you enjoy. And one of the biggest challenges for executives that move to non-exec director status is that switch that they need to make from operational to strategic. So there's this saying that I say to everyone: if you think that you remember nothing else apart from, as a NED, you've got to have your nose in but fingers out. You've got to know what's going on in the organization. You've got that fiduciary responsibility, which is all about making best decisions on the basis of stakeholders that you've got, but you're not operational. So if there's a problem in the ranks, that is for the executive team to go and deal with the management team and obviously the structure within the organization. You're not there. And quite often, you don't always need to have the answers for the board. Sometimes it's just about being really, really good at asking good questions, that gets people thinking. Just kind of, make sure that there's rigor, just kind of really good sort of governance, really, because governance is obviously the key thing. That's the kind of main thing that a board is there to do. It's to govern an organization. So as I said, 6 to 12 months. I think one of the things that is a bit of a myth is that everyone can be a non-exec director or be on a board. That's not the case. And there are people that I speak to that I say, look, I just don't think you've got the credentials. I don't think it'll be a good pairing because I just don't think I'm going to be able to help you be successful, which I think is really, really important. And people appreciate that as well. But it's not for everyone. But yeah, there's no guarantees like anything, like working with you, Adam, there's no guarantees. But there's a process, and you see the fruits of the labor as time goes on. And if someone's willing to put the work in, then I've obviously got the time and the knowledge and expertise to help them, give them the very best chance they have of being successful.
Well, I think you make a really good point there, in that not everybody you talk to is going to be a good fit for your service. And I think a lot of times when we're first getting a business started and off the ground, sometimes we bring on clients that we're not sure if we can help. And I've kind of gotten to the point, and it sounds like you're there too, where if it's not a good fit, if you don't feel like you can actually help them, then you're in a much better position if you can just tell them, Simon, I think you're doing great work, but I don't think we're the right fit. Based on what you're trying to do. I might have someone that I could refer you to that would be a better fit. And when we do that, people respect that. I mean, we actually attract more clients when you do it that way, because you're making it more about them and what's best for them, not necessarily, having that commission breath of, I really need to get a client. So, all right, 2 more questions for you. If you were to start your coaching business over again, what would you have done differently, if anything?
I think that the key one around marketing and niching is really getting targeted early on about who specifically and what specifically I'm going to achieve, and just to kind of choose that area. If I had my time again, having been through redundancy, I might say that actually that would be my focus, the outplacement, as it's referred to, that redundancy, because I just think really helping someone at a really quite stressful time, I work with people through an associate who have been working for like 20, 30. There was even someone that had been working for 40 years. And then all of a sudden, they were told that they didn't have a job. I mean, that's such a shock to the system. So I've got a real heart for people that kind of go through redundancy. So kind of that, or obviously the board work specifically. And as I said, the board work is really back to my why, which is that, it's those people sitting around that board table that have the most significant amount of influence with regards to whether a company fails or it succeeds. And that's really what I want to influence.
Oh, that's awesome. What do you love most about the coaching you do?
Oh, the people, holding space for people. If someone said to me, what is the one skill or one sort of gift or talent, or what do you give to your clients? I say, I give them my presence, my 100% presence, which allows me to basically draw out, insights, help people through limiting beliefs, really understand what's going on, speak out loud the things that they're not mentioning, because quite often that is the case. There's a lot of things that people won't mention. And that normally comes around when you're talking about, areas of disadvantage or areas of development. There's always quite a tricky area in that thing. But yeah, just being present with someone and sharing in someone's story and just being able to kind of influence, usually a positive outcome for them, and it's, for me, it's all about people. I've always kind of loved people, in all shapes and sizes, from CEOs down to kind of shop floor. I've worked with a whole range of people and led people and done this and that. So to work with these kind of, normally quite high flying individuals, highly paid executives and highly intelligent executives, getting them into board positions and affecting that change over the whole organization is really floats my boat.
Well, I mean, I appreciate, the fact that you shared about your mental health and challenges there. And we know how many people are affected by that, not only in the UK, but across the globe, and obviously here in the US as well. We've had to deal with that, in our family as well. Any advice for people that are, having any challenges, with their mental health and how you've been able to overcome, or maybe not overcome, but handle it and deal with it and incorporate that into, part of your coaching practice? Because I know there's probably a lot of coaches that struggle with some mental health challenges. Maybe they won't admit it, but any advice from someone who's kind of been there and done that and can share some wisdom?
Yeah, the immediate one is be kind to yourself. It is tough and it is challenging. And there are going to be occasions, and I regularly have it with my supervisor that I see kind of maybe every sort of 3 or 4 months, or she's on, she's just on the phone if I need her. And we've had conversations before where I've not been feeling very well, and it will just be a simple question: are you fit to coach? And you have to make that decision for yourself in terms of, are you in the right headspace to be able to help someone else? Because you've really got to be sort of on the ball and topped up, to be able to kind of pull that out into other people. So that's something that a question that I always ask myself, just to keep myself in check. But you've got to be kind to yourself, and sometimes you have to say, I'm not fit to coach, and you have to reschedule an appointment or whatever. You don't have to necessarily be open and honest about the reason for it, but you just have to say, for whatever reason, you're not feeling well enough to coach for that day, and then move it around. But you have to, it's the client. It's obviously you first. You've got to look after your own health. But in this profession, again, ethics dictates that you've got to make sure that you're doing everything in the best interests of your client. And the best interest of your client, if you're not well, is to say, right, we need to reschedule a session or move it, whatever else. I guarantee there won't be a major problem with that. As I said, I've done it a couple of times. I need to do it on occasion, and it doesn't seem to have any lasting kind of negative impacts on my practice.
Yeah, I can certainly relate to that. I've had days where I wake up and I am just not in the right space mentally, and I've had to reschedule calls. And you always want to have a full calendar, and you always want to help people. But like you said, if you're not in the right space, then you're not going to be able to deliver what you need to deliver and focus on them if your mind is elsewhere. So I think there's a lot of people that can relate to that. Where can people find out more about you and your work if they want to get in touch with you?
Well, I have a fantastic surname for SEO. So Simon Bergenroth, Bergenroth. You just type that into Google, and then my LinkedIn profile will be at the very top. So yeah, I mean, I hang out on LinkedIn daily, as I know that you do. We're kind of LinkedIn geeks, and that's really my main platform. I do have a website, so that's 3 hats, and so that's the word 3hats.co.uk. So again, you can find some more kind of testimonials and information on there. But generally, LinkedIn is a good place. I've got over 90 testimonials on there. So various people that I've obviously worked with over the years, basically saying that I do a reasonable job. So maybe check out those if you're kind of interested in maybe working with me and winning that board seat or just that career progression at a very executive level.
Awesome. Simon, great to catch up with you. Thanks for coming on, and I'm sure we'll chat again soon.
Great stuff. Thanks, Adam.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of I Need a Coach. If you've made it this far, I genuinely appreciate your dedication. Putting this podcast together takes a lot of time and energy. In return, we only ask one thing, which is if you could please leave a review wherever you listen to podcasts. This helps our show get in front of more people so we can help more people. This is Adam Packard signing off. Keep coaching, keep thriving, and see you in the next episode.